Hey there, so today we have another review. This is a beer from Pariah. Thank you so much for sending this one in. Just got this one in. This is Cat Could Ball. This Cat Could Ball, Hazy IPA. Let's dig into the beer, and then we'll dig into the descriptor and tasting notes. You guys post some comments below. Do you, like, sometimes for bigger brands, like a big release, I'll try to, like, hey, preface it, like, hey, this is, like, what it is, a new product, da 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 da. For, like, things that are, like, I mean, obviously they do a lot of one-offs. And I assume almost none of you get distribution of Pariah out of Baltimore and San Diego. So I'd like to do a little blind kind of thing. So I actually don't know what this is other than Hazy IPA. I try to not look at the label. You post in comments below what you prefer to know. And then we'll do the review. So beer is pretty murky. It's actually not a very good looking beer. Comes in a medium deep gold color, but has a little bit that kind of like hazy IPA oxidation kind of color to it. Maybe a little bit. Like it's like orange juice, but like if you threw in like, honestly, like a little bit of coffee in there. It's weird because like it has just the lightest touch of like brown hue to it. I don't have a can date, but I assume it's quite fresh. I assume their DO and all that stuff's good. Who knows? It doesn't look great, but it doesn't look perfect, but who cares? It smells good. I mean, to me, that's just white grapes, a little bit of like cotton candy grape thing going on, sweet grapes. Smells a little bit of citrus. So it has just generic kind of like, hazy IPA orange thing going on. A little bit of pineapple, but a little bit of like southern hemisphere. But quite tropical, quite juicy, pineapple orange. Familiar. Don't have it that cold. Okay. They recommend 50 to 50. That's warm for a hazy IPA. 50 to 55. That's like on the upper end of what I'd recommend for most people to have like stouts at, even like barrel aged stuff. Like 55 is probably as high as I'd go. Like I don't think there's many styles that really, I don't think people would recommend like, hey, you should start drinking this style at like 60 degrees, right? 50 to 55 probably the top limit of what even like Cicero would recommend. And that's for hazy IPA. Surprised. I would have guessed like, maybe want to like accentuate the lushness of a beer, but like 45 and let it, my opinion is always like, do a reasonable temperature and let it warm up, right? Like, unless you're chugging the beer, which I don't recommend. If you're trying to like, savor the beer, enjoy it, check out the aromatics, like get a decent temperature and let it warm up. You can never, and the other thing is you could always get too cold and warm it up, but you can't ever really quite like redo the process. I guess you can crack the beer, put it back in the fridge if you find it too warm, but whatever. So actually I do have a recommended temperature range. Pretty good. This is actually what I sort of associate with like good hazy IPA, when a hazy IPA was like, maybe not like the early times, like when I hit the peak, when I was like, when those, early batches of green and blah, blah, blah. But right after that. So, all right, let's go with the years. Peak hazy for me was like somewhere around 2015, 2016, 2014, 2016. And then like it went really rampant, like, actually probably 2014 to 2016, sure. And then it really went rampant. 2017, 2018, 2019. That's when like hazy IPAs were everywhere. Every brewery was doing it, and so many were bad. This is a good example of it. Like this reminds me a little bit of Other Half. Very creamy, thick. Follows on the palate. A lot of oranges, pineapple, light mango flavor. It definitely has some green bite to it, but it's that enjoyable green bite where it's like, it's a little bit chalky, I'll say that, but it's almost like a substitute for bitterness. It's got a light vegetal thing that sort of like cleans up the beer, right? That kind of drying aspect can sort of overtake bitterness because obviously like this style is light on bitter, or generally pretty light on bitterness compared to regular IPA. And so instead of that, you get that chlorophenol kind of green thing. But it's such a delicate balance to get just a bit of that before it gets too far and too vegetal. I would say this turned up just a hair high, but like it's right there, perfect. Like we're like, you know what? It actually reminds me a little bit of a Treehouse. It has a lot of Treehouse vibes to it. I will say they got the mouthfeel right. The water profile is pretty good. It's a little chalky for me. Hair, vegetables actually I would actually prefer less chalkiness, more important than the vegetal aspect. But these are all like balancing tones because again you just amp that up just a hair. It's such a weird trick. These are such delicate flavors between the chalkiness and the chlorophenol kind of green bite that I always describe in hazy IPAs, that just turning that just hair too high, boom, it just completely ruins the beer. I'm trying to think of like what analogy I can make that with food, but I mean certain herbs and spices, right? Like I don't even know how to describe it. It's a balancing act, right? You throw a little too much vinegar in a certain dish and just completely throws things out of whack. Where it's like just a little bit, some people put a little bit of salt on ice cream, right? To put a little too much of that, now you got a savory ice cream that's just like gross. Versus like just a little bit of that sort of accentuates that savoriness, accentuates sweetness, but go too far, and now you taste salty ice cream, right? No good. Yeah, I think I've described like some of the standard flavors. It's not very distinct. I wouldn't go like, oh, this shines of like very distinct hop flavors. It's in that general range of yellow to orange fruits. I was smelling some southern hemisphere characteristics, but I don't really get it on the palate. Mouthfeel is rich though. It's a medium to medium plus mouthfeel, probably medium plus to full. Yeah, medium plus full. You definitely get a good amount of sweet oat thing in the middle. Oat creamy, a little bit of that kind of like doughy. Sometimes it's more malt flavor, which is a little bit bready. This is doughy because of that oat wheat contribution that they're adding to the beer. Let's dig in the label. It's a very tasty beer. Australian hops. Okay, so I smelled it. Combination of American and Australian hops. So yeah, I definitely smelled it. I don't really get too much on the palate. They get peach, melon, grapefruit, Malvasia bianca. I'm gonna have to Google that. I have no clue what that fruit that is. And tangerine, amongst its weight class soft mouthfeel. Blah blah blah. So yeah, I definitely smelled it. So it's really cool that I called some Southern Hemisphere character. I assume it's Galaxy, but I don't really get too much of that on palate. By the way, for a beer that's 6.6, this just easily drinks 7.5 8%, which is really huge compliments to the beer. You're drinking, it at least drinks double IPA quality, 9 close. Like it's got this richness to it. Hop flavor is pretty good. For me, always bigger aromatics, more distinct flavor where you can really slice through the transitioning of like, oh my God, it's like ripping through a mango, then that's transition to white grapes and blah, 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 blah. Here it's just a bunch of flavors, right? A bunch of like just tropical flavors at once. I can go with peach, maybe cantaloupe melon, maybe sweet grapefruit, maybe definitely some tangerine. This is good hazy, very good hazy. What does very, very good hazy get? It's very good. Honestly, I don't really get great examples of hazies too much anymore. But then again, I'm in my market, I don't review too much hazy for you guys. Let's go with the Sun 96 plus. This cat could ball, very delicious. There's so many things that I want from hazy IPA that a lot of breweries don't do anymore or can't do anymore. I don't know, whatever hazy IPA tastes like these days. Excuse me. Rich, chewy, good aromatics. Pull back on the all flavors that I hate in a hazy IPA. 96 plus. Cheers later.